My name is Lila, and in exactly 1 week I'll be 18. Not that anyone's counting. Not that birthdays really matter anymore. Not since my world cracked open 2 years ago and spilled everything warm and familiar across the cold floor of reality. I live with my father now. Just him and me. Our house is quiet, clean, and strangely orderly, like a museum of our old life, preserved in silence. My mother is somewhere in southern Spain now, or maybe Morocco. Last I heard, she ran off with some 20-something artist she met on a wine tour. She used to hum while she cooked, swirl around the kitchen in her bare feet with flour dusting her collarbone and sun in her laugh. But that's ancient history now. She's gone, and the gap she left behind is the kind that echoes. My dad never said much about her leaving. Just that she needed something else. Like we weren't enough. Like I wasn't enough. For the first year after she left, I thought he might unravel. He was a solid man, my dad. Big hands, dependable eyes, a quiet way of existing like he never needed to shout to be heard. But after Mom left, he started burning toast in the mornings. Forgot to change the sheets for weeks. Cried once in the garage when he thought I couldn't hear. That's when I stopped being a child. I started doing the groceries. I cleaned the bathroom. I fixed dinner more often than not. Somewhere along the way I slipped into her role, her place. Not just in the house but in the rhythm of things. The mornings became about coffee and silence. Evenings were about cooking and sitting on opposite ends of the couch, watching the news in shared stillness. And now I'm 17, almost 18, and every day I feel like the air between us is getting thicker. Started subtle, like everything dangerous does. A pause in his voice when he said goodnight. A longer glance when I laughed a little too freely at dinner. The way he started fixing his hair before coming downstairs in the morning. Stupid things. Small things. Things you notice when you've got no one else to notice. Last week, I caught him watching me from the hallway. I had just come out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping down my back. I walked past his study to get to my room, and there he was, sitting in the dark, no lights on, the glow from the hallway casting him in half shadow. His eyes met mine and didn't move. Neither did I. We just stared. Two people trapped in a moment we didn't ask for. I made it to my room and shut the door, heart pounding so loudly I thought the neighbors might hear. Since then, something shifted. Something deep. The way he speaks to me is different now. He uses my name more, like he's reminding himself of who I am. Or who I'm supposed to be. He compliments me, carefully. Casually. Like, that dress looks nice on you, or you're getting good at cooking pasta. Like he's afraid to say more but can't help saying something. And maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I've grown taller. 'Cause I started doing my hair differently. Because I've started to look at him not just as my father but as something else. Someone male. Someone close. Someone who stayed. He's the only person in my life who knows everything about me, my fears, my sarcasm, the way I can't sleep unless I hear the ticking of the old clock in the hallway. He remembers my favorite cereal even when the grocery store is out and he goes to 3 different places just to get it. He doesn't flinch when I cry. He doesn't run when I scream. He's here. And maybe that's the problem. A few mornings after that hallway moment, the one we never spoke of, he asked me about my birthday. He said it casually, spooning sugar into his coffee, but there was a nervous energy behind it, like the words had waited too long in his throat. "So," he said, "what do you want to do for your birthday?" I blinked at him from across the kitchen island. Toast popped up from the toaster, but neither of us moved. "My birthday," I repeated, like I hadn't been circling the day in my head for weeks. Like I hadn't noticed the way it shimmered with unspoken meaning. He nodded, eyes flicking toward mine then away, pretending to stir his cup though the sugar had long since dissolved. "18th's a big one. Figured we should do something." "I don't know," I said, reaching for the toast. "It's just another day." He leaned on the counter with both arms, muscles flexing in his forearms, his t-shirt slightly wrinkled from sleep. It's not just another day, Lila. You're turning 18. That matters. Does it? I asked, trying to sound indifferent, but my voice caught on the end like a snag in fabric. He looked up then, really looked. His gaze felt heavier than it should have, like it carried too much. It matters to me. That silenced me more than anything. I busied myself with buttering the toast, suddenly aware of the heat in my cheeks. Do you want a party? Dinner? We could go out somewhere. Or stay in, just the two of us. Whatever you want. I could feel him watching me as I cut the toast diagonally, the way I always did. His voice was soft, deliberate, careful. Just the two of us, I said quietly before I could stop myself. The words hung in the air, warmer than they should have been. His lips parted slightly. He wasn't expecting that answer. Or maybe he was. Maybe he just didn't know what to do with it now that it was out. He nodded slowly. Okay. We'll make it special. That evening, I found him in the living room, sketching ideas on a notepad. He rarely used paper. He was a tech guy, always with a laptop or his phone, but here he was, old school, scribbling out plans for a dinner menu, a playlist, even lighting. I stood in the doorway and watched him for a moment, the lines of concentration in his brow, the pen tapping against his lips. When he noticed me, he smiled, not wide but soft, like something private. You caught me. What are you doing? I asked, even though I already knew. Planning, he said, flipping the pad closed. It's a surprise. Is it dinner at home? He tilted his head. Maybe. Will there be candles? He paused. Do you want candles? I shrugged, but my smile gave me away. Then there'll be candles. He stood, walking past me slowly, and for a second his hand grazed the small of my back as he passed. Light. Barely there. But enough to make me forget how to breathe. We didn't talk much for the rest of the night. He disappeared into the kitchen for hours, claiming he was experimenting with a dessert recipe. I heard him humming, something low and unfamiliar. I stayed upstairs, reading the same page 3 times without absorbing a word. That night, I dreamed of the birthday evening he was planning. Of soft music and dim lighting. 2 plates, side by side, and wine glasses with flickers of candlelight dancing through them. I woke up before the dinner ended, heart racing, breath caught somewhere between guilt and anticipation. The truth is, I don't know what I want, but I know what I feel. And that scares me more than anything. The morning of my birthday, he made pancakes. He never made pancakes. I came downstairs to the smell of vanilla and browned butter, the table already set, plates stacked, orange juice in the good glasses, a single white flower in a vase like we were at some quiet brunch cafe instead of our aging suburban kitchen. He wore a navy button-up shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Made his forearms look even stronger, like he had dressed not just for breakfast, but for me. Happy birthday, he said, looking at me the way no one had ever looked at me before. Like I was his. Something in me fluttered. Quiet unraveling. You did all this? I asked, voice softer than I meant. I wanted today to feel different, he said. You're not a kid anymore. No, I wasn't. He sat close, closer than usual, his knee brushing mine under the table. Every little touch sent sparks humming beneath my skin. There was no mistaking it now. The way he looked at me, the careful way he smiled, like he knew something unspoken passed between us in the silence. The day moved like a slow, sweet song. He didn't leave my side. Every glance, every word he said was gentle, intimate, like I was something precious he'd waited for. As evening fell, he asked me to dress up. Something you feel beautiful in, he said, his voice low. I wore a soft blue dress I'd kept hidden in the back of my closet, something I never felt brave enough to wear. When I came down the stairs, he was waiting at the bottom, and when he saw me, he exhaled like he'd forgotten how to breathe. You look, he stopped, stepped forward. Like you walked out of a dream. My heart threatened to leap from my chest. He drove us into the city. Skyscrapers glittered like glass giants against the dusky sky. He didn't tell me where we were going, just kept glancing at me from the driver's seat like he still couldn't believe I was there beside him. Finally, we pulled up to a tall silver tower, its top floors disappearing into the clouds. He parked, opened my door for me, offered his hand. His palm was warm, steady. Inside, everything gleamed, glass, steel, quiet wealth. He led me to an elevator and hit the button for one of the highest floors. "It's a surprise," he said, lips tugging into a smile. The doors closed with a hush, and the car began its slow, smooth climb. Music played softly, and the floor numbers blinked past like seconds. He stood close, our reflections shimmering on the polished walls. But then the elevator jolted. A sudden, unnatural stop. The lights flickered. The floor number froze. My heart jumped. "What just?" "Elevator's stuck," he said, hitting the emergency button. Nothing happened. A moment of silence. Then a low chuckle. "Of course. On your birthday." I tried to laugh, but the tightness in my chest wouldn't let go. We were alone. Suspended between floors. Between expectations. He turned toward me slowly. The air in the elevator felt warmer, closer. "You okay?" he asked, voice quieter now. I nodded, but barely. He stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough that I felt it. His presence, the heat of his body, the way his eyes searched mine for something unspoken. "I was going to show you something up there," he said, glancing at the elevator ceiling, then back to me. "But maybe this is better." My pulse thudded in my ears. "Better?" He nodded. "It's quiet here. Just us. No distractions." I wanted to ask what the surprise was, what this meant, but the words got tangled somewhere in my throat. He looked at me differently now. Not as his daughter. Not just. He looked at me like a man who'd waited years to be near someone who understood him, someone who had stayed when everyone else left. "You've grown up so much," he said, almost in a whisper. "You don't even know how beautiful you are, do you?" I felt it then, the shift. The soft tear between what was and what might be. In the silence of the elevator, between breaths, between heartbeats, I didn't feel like his daughter. I felt like his woman. And he was right. No distractions. Just us. We sat there for hours. First, we tried calling someone, anyone. Pressing buttons, knocking on the elevator door, laughing nervously at how ridiculous it all was. But soon the laughter faded and time slipped its hands around us. The minutes blurred into hours. No one came. We sank to the floor, backs against the cool metal wall, our reflections half-lit in the stainless steel. I curled my legs under me. He sat with one knee bent, arms resting on it, glancing at me from time to time with something unreadable in his eyes. It wasn't fear. It wasn't worry. It was something quieter. More dangerous. "How long's it been?" I asked softly. He checked his watch. 5 hours. The word hung in the stale air between us. 5 hours. Trapped together. No outside world. No obligations. Just breath and silence and everything that had been building for months. I shivered, rubbing my arms. "It's getting cold." He noticed right away, his eyes darkening with concern. "Come here." He opened his arms, an invitation wrapped in warmth. I hesitated, but only for a second. Then I slid across the floor toward him and let him pull me close. His chest was firm and steady beneath me, his arms a shelter. I curled into him like I had when I was little, when I'd fall asleep on the couch and he'd carry me to bed. But this wasn't that. This was different. His hand found my shoulder, rubbing small, slow circles. I could feel his breath above my ear, warm against my skin, his heartbeat steady through his shirt. I wasn't cold anymore. I was burning. Neither of us said anything. The elevator lights cast a soft gold haze over everything. The silence was no longer empty, it was full. Every breath we took seemed louder. Every movement felt deliberate. Then something shifted. He pulled back just enough to look at me. His eyes met mine, deep, focused, gentle. But not fatherly. Not anymore. "I keep thinking," he said quietly, "about how much you've changed. How much I've changed. And how different this all feels." I swallowed. My voice was barely a whisper. "Different how?" He brushed a strand of hair from my cheek, his fingers lingering too long. "Like I see you now. Not just as a girl I raised, but as someone real. A woman. One I don't want to lose." My breath hitched. And then, slowly, as if giving me time to stop him, he leaned in. I didn't move away. His lips brushed mine like a question. Gentle. Trembling. Kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't hungry or careless. It was soft, slow, and full of everything neither of us had dared say. Kissed him back. Not because I was confused, but because, in that moment, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb grazing my jaw. I felt the years in his touch, the ache of waiting, of loneliness, of love buried under roles we'd both outgrown. When we finally pulled away, the elevator was still. Silent. Like it had been holding its breath, too. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice hoarse. I shook my head. "Don't be." 'Cause I wasn't. I didn't know what this meant. I didn't know what would happen when the doors opened again, when the world came rushing back in. But in that moment, suspended between floors, between past and future, I knew only this. I didn't feel like a girl anymore. I felt chosen. Wanted. Seen. And in his arms, I wasn't afraid. We didn't speak for a long while after the first kiss. But the silence between us wasn't awkward. It was full, like a song after the final note still echoing in your chest. We sat close, our bodies pressed along the length of each other, our hands brushing occasionally as though gravity was drawing us together. And maybe it was. I leaned my head against his shoulder, listening to the steady rhythm of his breath. My heart hadn't slowed since the moment our lips met. He shifted slightly, his arm tightening around me. "You're not cold anymore," he said quietly. "No." His fingers grazed mine, then threaded between them, his grip gentle, grounding. I stared at our hands, how perfectly they fit. How wrong it would have felt with anyone else. And I think he saw it too. The world outside still hadn't noticed us. No phone calls, no knocks, no intercom crackle. It was as if the elevator had slipped out of time, paused just for us. A secret place where nothing could interrupt what was quietly unraveling. He looked down at me again. This time there was no apology in his eyes. "Lila." Just my name. And nothing more. But the way he said it made my stomach turn over. "I didn't mean for this to happen tonight," he said. "But I'm not going to pretend I haven't felt this coming." I met his gaze. "Neither am I." His expression softened, relief maybe. Or just honesty finally let out of its cage. And then, without hesitation, he kissed me again. Slower this time. Deeper. His hand slid up my back, cradling the nape of my neck, and I melted into him. The kiss was everything the first one hadn't been, bolder, surer. As if now that the line had been crossed, there was no point in holding back. The elevator around us felt like it faded. It wasn't metal and light anymore. It was warmth and skin and two people wrapped in a truth they could no longer outrun. When he pulled away, he rested his forehead against mine. We were both breathing harder, not from effort, but from the weight of what had just passed between us again. "I should be scared," I whispered. "Are you?" "No," I said. "That's the scary part." He smiled, brushing his thumb along my cheek, reverent. "I don't know what happens when those doors open," he said, voice low. "Neither do I." "But right now, in here with you," he paused, searching for words he wasn't used to saying. "It feels right." I nodded, my fingers tightening in his. Outside, the world was waiting. But in here it was just us. Two hearts beating toward the same truth. And for now, that was all we needed.